Emmerdale revenge spiral. Joe Tate's warpath puts Billy in danger. Is this the return of a ruthless mastermind? In the ever-turbulent world of Emmerdale, old rivalries and new threats often collide in devastating ways, and next week, viewers are in for a simmering storm of betrayal, paranoia, and dangerous payback as Joe Tate declares silent war on Billy Fletcher. Haunted by betrayal and driven by a bruised ego, Joe becomes consumed with a single obsessive thought. Someone is out to destroy him. And in his mind, there's only one culprit, Billy. What starts with a scratched car soon escalates into a revenge campaign that could spiral into life-threatening violence, pulling in dangerous criminals, emotional wreckage, and echoes of Joe's past that refuse to stay buried. Welcome back to the Emmerdale we love, full of secrets, shadows, and the kind of revenge only the wounded elite can afford. From success to suspicion, Joe's fracturing world. At first glance, Joe Tate appears to be on top of the world. After returning to the village and reclaiming his position as one of Emmerdale's wealthiest, and most calculating, residents, Joe has been living a life of sharp suits, sharp strategies, and a carefully rebuilt reputation. But underneath the confident surface lies a man still shaken by past betrayals and hungry for control. The death of Graham Foster, his trusted aide and surrogate father, left Joe unanchored. His recent autoimmune diagnosis has only furthered his vulnerability. For a man like Joe, strength is everything. Weakness is dangerous. So when he finds his luxury car keyed beyond recognition, the damage is more than cosmetic. It's personal. It's an attack on his pride, and in Joe's world, that's unforgivable. Billy Fletcher. The obvious enemy, or a convenient target? Joe doesn't hesitate before naming his suspect, Billy Fletcher. The bad blood between them is no secret. Joe's recent romance with Dawn Fletcher, Billy's former flame and the mother of his child, added fuel to an already tense relationship. Billy, despite his attempt at turning over a new leaf, hasn't entirely hidden his resentment. Billy totally has a motive, one Emmerdale source confirms. Joe swooped in and stole the love of his life. There's unresolved tension there, and Joe feels it every time he sees Billy in the village. Joe becomes convinced Billy is behind the vandalism. But for someone like Joe, simply filing a report or shrugging it off isn't an option. He wants retribution, justice, dominance. And in his eyes, Billy must be taught a lesson, one he'll never forget. The bedroom break-in. A sinister escalation. If the car keying felt like an insult, what happens next feels like a direct threat. Joe comes home the next night to find his bedroom has been broken into. Nothing appears stolen at first, until he realizes something chilling. His autoimmune suppressant medication is missing. It's not just an intrusion, it's potentially lethal. The theft could compromise Joe's health. It could kill him. Panicked, Joe turns to an unlikely confidant, Sam Dingle. Despite their rocky history, Sam has become a somewhat steady figure in Joe's chaotic return to Emmerdale. And when Joe lays out his suspicions, Sam doesn't dismiss them. In fact, he adds fuel to the fire. Show him who's boss, Sam advises. Remind him who he's messing with. Those words echo in Joe's ears. It's not just about Dawn anymore. It's about fear, dominance, and eliminating threats before they can strike again. Gone wrong. Determined to reclaim control, Joe heads to the depot where Billy works and stages a confrontation. But it doesn't go to plan. Billy, calm and collected, denies everything. Worse, he makes Joe look paranoid, unhinged even. Their co-workers watch on as Joe flounders, failing to land any real blow, verbal or otherwise. It's humiliating. Joe hopes Billy will get his just desserts, but he flounders, our insider reports. He looks foolish, and for someone like Joe, who prides himself on being 5 steps ahead, that's intolerable. The failed showdown only deepens Joe's paranoia and amplifies his need to strike back harder and smarter. Enter Sean, Joe's dark new weapon. In the wake of his embarrassment, Joe begins to spiral. The absence of Graham, his mentor, his fixer, looms larger than ever. Joe needs someone to handle the dirty work. Someone expendable, someone dangerous. Sam, unintentionally, gives him the idea, find a new Graham. That's when Joe turns to Sean, the village's resident loose cannon, a man with a violent past and zero conscience. The same man who once stabbed Caleb without blinking. Sean is volatile, unpredictable, and exactly the kind of tool Joe needs. He's a walking time bomb, says one village insider. But Joe doesn't want precision. He wants chaos. He wants Billy afraid. Joe meets with Sean in secret and gives him one chilling order. Teach Don's ex a lesson he won't forget. It's a moment that marks Joe's descent from suspicious victim to calculating puppeteer, pulling strings from the shadows, using violence as a means of psychological warfare. A dangerous game of proxy vengeance. The brilliance and horror of Joe's plan lies in its deniability. By outsourcing his revenge, he keeps his hands clean while unleashing destruction. Sean doesn't need specifics. He understands what Joe wants. Whether it's intimidation, a beating, or something worse, Sean will deliver. Joe takes advantage of Sean's unpredictability, the insider says. He doesn't care how it gets done. He just wants Billy out of the way, emotionally broken, physically frightened. Maybe even gone for good. And with Sean now watching Billy's every move, viewers are left asking, is Billy in real danger? The Dawn factor. A woman torn between two worlds. Caught in the middle of the rising feud is Dawn, whose history with both men complicates everything. She's finally started to rebuild her life after years of trauma, addiction, and heartbreak. Her relationship with Joe, though complicated, has offered her some stability. But she also shares a long and painful history with Billy, their child, their past, and a connection that refuses to completely vanish. Dawn remains unaware of Joe's revenge plan, for now. But secrets like this never stay hidden in Emmerdale. And when she discovers the truth, will she ever be able to forgive his father's son? Longtime fans will recognize a familiar pattern in Joe's actions. His father, Tate, was notorious for using manipulation and violence to maintain power. Joe once promised he wouldn't become the man his father was. A bitter, vengeful figure who destroyed everything around him in the name of justice. But now, with Graham gone and fear taking root, Joe is walking a similar path, cold, calculating, and willing to use others to get what he wants. The question looms. Is Joe too far gone to turn back? The village reacts, suspicion, whispers, and fallout. As the week unfolds, Emmerdale's tight-knit community begins to notice something is wrong. Billy grows increasingly anxious and paranoid. Sean's presence becomes more visible, lurking near the garage, watching from a distance. Meanwhile, Joe resumes his calm, collected demeanor. He plays innocent, concerned, even as the chaos begins to unfold just as he planned. But others aren't so easily fooled. Kane Dingle suspects something's off. Moira warns Billy to watch his back. Chaz, ever the gossip antenna, picks up the tension in the air. It's only a matter of time before someone connects the dots. How far will Joe go? And will it all come crashing down? Joe Tate has always been a complicated figure. Driven by grief, insecurity, and a deep hunger for control, he's walked the line between hero and villain more than once. But this time feels different. This time, he's not just reacting. He's orchestrating. With Sean now unleashed and Billy unknowingly in the crosshairs, the next few weeks promise explosive confrontations, shocking revelations, and potentially irreversible consequences. Will Billy survive Joe's revenge campaign? Can Dawn forgive either of them? Will Joe lose everything in his bid for power, again?